She thought life would wait, that she could just hit pause, jet off to Europe, sip wine in quaint little alleys, and post aesthetic shots with captions like finding myself, thinking everything would be right where she left it when she came back. But while she was searching for herself, someone else made a quiet decision too. Not with drama, not with anger, but with finality. He didn't scream, he didn't plead, he didn't even ask her to reconsider. He just changed things, piece by piece, without fanfare. While she posed in her foreign sunsets and smiled with strangers who felt like freedom, he erased her, methodically, calmly, permanently, from the life they once shared. And when she finally returned, expecting to slip back into her old world, she didn't find a man licking his wounds. She found someone who had stopped waiting, someone who had figured out how to let go. Because sometimes the strongest act isn't clinging to someone who's drifting away. It's stepping aside and letting them go. I'm glad you're here. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with where you're watching from. I read every one. Let's rewind to where it all began. It wasn't a big moment, not at first. Just a regular Thursday evening. We had just finished dinner. Olia stood at the sink rinsing the plates, her tone casual, too casual, when she said, "I'm thinking about taking a trip," like she was announcing we were out of paper towels. "Europe," she added over her shoulder. I paused, my drink halfway to my lips. "By yourself?" "Not exactly. Marissa and Lena are going too. But this is something I need to do for me." She kept her eyes on the dishes like she couldn't afford to look at me while she dropped the bomb between us. Marissa and Lena, both recently single, both reinventing themselves in the wake of messy breakups, were hardly the type to inspire a grounded, reflective retreat. I didn't need details. I knew exactly where this was heading. "What are you hoping to find over there that you haven't found here?" I asked. She dried her hands, finally meeting my gaze. "Ryan, I've never done anything just for me. I went from my parents' house straight into building a life with you. I need to figure out who I am again. We've been married 4 years. Just bought our first home. We had plans, solid ones, or so I thought. But now she was telling me she needed distance. Space, she said. Space so you can decide what you want before what? I asked. Before we settle down. Before it's too late for a soul-searching getaway with Marissa and her yoga crush. "That's not fair," she said. "Which part? The trip or the part where you made this decision alone?" She exhaled sharply. "I knew you'd react like this. That's why I almost waited until everything was booked before telling you. And that's when I understood. This wasn't up for discussion. It was already done. She wasn't asking. She was informing." She left the next weekend. I didn't protest. I didn't try to stop her. But the same night she flew out, I made my own decision, one that would change everything. I drove her to the airport, not out of sentiment, but to make sure she couldn't twist the narrative. Couldn't say I'd made it hard. She looked effortlessly glamorous, like she was heading to brunch, not crossing an ocean. Linen blazer. Sunglasses so big they swallowed half her face. A designer suitcase worth more than my first car. "You okay?" she asked when we pulled up. "I'm fine," I said, killing the engine. "You got your passport?" She nodded, then paused. "You're being really quiet. You're flying off with 2 women who treat relationships like seasonal trends, and you're surprised I'm not feeling chatty?" She shook her head. "This is exactly why I needed space. You always twist everything." "It's not about cheating," she added. "No," I said, "but trips like this have a way of opening doors that should stay shut." She rolled her eyes and got out. I followed, pulled her suitcase from the trunk. She kissed me on the cheek, like I was a distant cousin, not her husband. "I'll text when I land." "You don't need to," I said. Her face tensed. "What does that mean?" "It means go find whatever it is you think you're missing. Just don't pretend this is about us." She didn't reply. Just turned, suitcase in hand, and walked away. I stood there a moment longer, then got back in the car and drove off. I didn't look back. That afternoon, I made changes, quiet ones. I wasn't trying to make a scene, but I wasn't going to keep playing the part of the loyal partner when I had just been written out of the story. I opened a new account and rerouted my paychecks, canceled the fall vacation we'd booked, made sure the refund hit my card, updated all the billing info on our shared subscriptions and utilities. Not a breakup yet, but definitely not business as usual. Let her go rediscover herself. I'd stay here, wide awake. By day 4, the first Instagram post popped up, a wine glass on a patio table, cobblestone streets in the background. Caption, Lost in Lisbon, finding clarity. Lisbon hadn't even been part of the original plan. Then came Seville, then Milan, then Nice. Clearly the itinerary had unraveled. They were city-hopping like college students on rail passes, chasing some curated version of freedom. Each post was a picture of detachment. Tapas on hand-painted plates. Sunsets from rooftop lounges. Sandy feet on Mediterranean beaches. Olia smiling with Marissa. Olia laughing under fairy lights. Olia twirling in a maxi dress, hiding behind her massive sunglasses. But then one photo stopped me, a group shot. Her, Marissa, Lena, and 3 men I didn't recognize. One had his arm around Olia's waist. No tags. No names. Just a caption. New friends, old souls. I stared at it for a long time. I opened a folder on my desktop and began saving screenshots. Call it paranoia. Call it preparation. Either way, I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. No comments. No messages. No reactions. She sent me a single text that week. Hey, hope things are good back home. We just got to Barcelona. The view is breathtaking. I didn't reply. The next day, Marissa posted a video from a beachfront lounge. Olia was in the background, barefoot with a cocktail in hand, gently swaying to the music. The same guy from the earlier photo was beside her, no shirt, leaning in close, whispering something I couldn't hear. She didn't move away. I watched the clip more than once, then saved it with the rest. Still, I didn't reach out. I didn't ask questions. I just waited. Nearly a month passed before Olia walked back into the house like nothing had changed. She dropped her luggage by the door and gave me a dazzling smile, like she had just returned from some great adventure. It feels amazing to be home, she said with a stretch and a yawn. You wouldn't believe the train delays in Italy. I was standing by the kitchen island, arms folded. Her eyes drifted over the space. You moved some things? I had time, I said. She came closer, leaning in for a kiss. I turned slightly, letting her lips brush my cheek. Her smile wavered. You're upset. No, I replied. You're back. Isn't that what matters? She let out a nervous laugh. Okay, I know how things might have looked, but it wasn't what you're thinking. We just needed space. That's all. Looked like you found someone to share that space with. I said. There was a pause before she said, So you saw the posts? I saw more than enough. Oh, Ryan, you know how it is. People end up in the same shot. Doesn't mean anything. You weren't wearing your ring. She winced. It felt safer not to. We were tourists. You know how standing out can attract attention. I said nothing. She turned away and unzipped her suitcase, rummaging around until she pulled out a small Vespa keychain. I got you something. Thought of you when I saw it. You always said you want to go to Rome. I took it and placed it on the counter. Then I opened a drawer and handed her an envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside was a bank statement showing our joint accounts being split. Beneath that were documents to transfer her share of the house and a business card for the moving company I'd already booked. She stared at the papers like they were in a foreign language. You're asking me to leave? You said you needed space. I said calmly, I made sure you'd have enough. Her voice cracked. All this over one trip? I took a sip of my coffee. No, over a choice. One you made without me. She sank onto the couch, shaken. It was never meant to be permanent. Ryan, I just needed time to think. To do what? I asked. Flirt your way through Europe? Pretend you were single again? What were you expecting to come back to? She looked at me like I was being unreasonable. You're blowing this out of proportion. You won't even let me explain. You had 4 weeks, I said. I got pictures of sunsets and drinks. That's it. I didn't sleep with him. But you thought about it, didn't you? She didn't respond. She didn't have to. You think not doing it makes it harmless? I said, you erased me the moment you got on that plane. You wanted freedom, OIA, and now you have it. But freedom has a price. Tears welled in her eyes. So that's it? Just like that. I didn't reply right away. I walked to the hall closet, pulled out the duffel bag I had already packed for her, and set it by the couch. You can stay with Marissa or Lena. You have options. She got to her feet, her voice trembling. You're really going through with this? I met her gaze. I told you not to pretend this trip was for us. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. There was no shouting, no drama, just a thick, heavy silence, the kind that settles when something ends. By the end of the week, she was gone. Marissa showed up in her little blue hatchback to help with the rest of OIA's things. She barely looked at me, just muttered a short, "Hey," and walked inside. Oh, I didn't say much either. She moved through the house like a guest, took down framed photos, emptied drawers, left behind a half-used bottle of shampoo, like she couldn't quite bring herself to finish the job. At one point, she stopped in the doorway and watched me working at the table. "This still doesn't feel real," she whispered. "It is," I said without looking up. "I thought maybe we could fix it once I came back." "You should have thought about that before you left me behind." That weekend, my brother Alec came over with his truck. We loaded the last of her boxes and drove them to a storage unit. He didn't ask questions, just helped. When he drove off, I stayed on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, sipping whiskey. The house felt different. Quieter, yes, but not empty. The stillness wasn't a void, it was mine. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I was free. Funny how she crossed oceans chasing freedom. And I found it without leaving home. 2 weeks passed. Then her number showed up on my phone. Unfamiliar, but I knew it was her. I let it ring out. The emails followed. "Can we talk?" Just one conversation. "Please, Ryan." I said nothing. The next afternoon, I saw her standing outside the house, arms folded, trying to look composed. When I stepped out, she walked up like we hadn't just dismantled everything. "I've been trying to reach you," she said. "I know," I replied, locking the door behind me. "You moved on this fast?" "I started moving the moment you said you needed space." She hesitated, searching for the right approach. I made a mistake. I met her eyes, steady. "No, you made a choice. You just don't like the result. I thought we were stronger than this." "No, I was strong. You were unsure." She recoiled like the words had struck her. "You don't mean that." "I mean every word." She reached into her purse and held out a small black box. Inside was my wedding ring. I kept it the whole time. I never even took it out. Then it still traveled farther than our marriage ever did. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I stepped past her, heading for my car. "So that's it?" she called after me, voice breaking. I looked over my shoulder. "You wanted freedom. Now you have it." I got in, started the engine, and this time I didn't look back. It's been 5 months. We sold the house, split everything cleanly. No lawyers, no courtroom scenes, no fireworks. Just quiet goodbyes. I moved into a smaller place closer to work. 1 bedroom. Simple. Quiet. Mine. I started running again. Took a photography class on Thursday nights. Funny how the lost pieces of yourself start to reappear when you stop bleeding out for someone who wouldn't have lifted a finger to save you. Friends still bring her up now and then. Maybe she's changed, they say. Maybe therapy helped. Maybe. But I don't need to know anymore. That's what real peace gives you. The freedom to stop wondering. I've heard she's been dating casually. Nothing serious. Nothing lasting. Then one day, she sent a final message. A photo. That old Vespa keychain from Rome. No words, just the image in her hand. I deleted it without replying. What she doesn't realize is that I still have mine. Not because of her, but as a reminder that love, true love, isn't about grand reunions or dramatic reconciliations. It's about staying. Staying when it's hard, when walking away seems easier, When the world tells you there might be something better if you just let go. She left to find herself. I stayed and found out who I was. I'm seeing someone new now. No rush, no explosions, just a steady warmth. The kind that doesn't need to be loud to be real. This story is over. If it meant something to you, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, check out more stories on my channel. Until next time.